know if that's a threat or...
Guten Tag means good day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's not a threat.
Oh,
Hair is Mr.
hair is Mr. Dow.
Oh, okay, good.
Good day, Mr. Dow.
Yes, is what she said. So that's not a threat. But it was in German, though.
Always threatening.
You know.
I do that in my kitchen whenever things are done. The kitchen is clean. I tell my family the kitchen is clean and closed.
Closed. Okay.
But I tell them das ist alles. That means that is all.
That is all. Is that
That is
German?
all. Uh-huh.
That's German? Okay.
It's German.
How do you know German?
Well, so in my high school, all of the Spanish teachers were also the football coaches.
Okay.
Therefore, you learned no Spanish.
Ouch.
Sorry.
She did not go to school here.
I did not.
Right.
No.
Notice how she didn't say where she went to school.
I know, right? However, one of them
Yes.
was he would tell his students that if you bring me something really, really spicy, like the hotter the better, you get an A in my class.
Okay.
That was also a Spanish. Anyways, so I took French for a year because I'm like, I'm not going to waste my time bringing hot salsa, whatever. So I took French for a year.
Okay.
And it was really hard. It was really, really hard for me to pick up. So I switched to German, and I loved it. And
Really?
we were only supposed to have 2 years of a foreign language, like as our requirement. I ended up taking a second year of German because I was like, this is so much fun. I loved it. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, to quote the comedian Steve Martin, who once said, "Those French have a different word for everything." So it's one of those.
I feel like German would be hard. That's interesting.
It's very much in the back of your throat.
Yeah.
It's very hard.
All right.
And French is so beautiful.
Now, Hayley is a world traveler.
Yes, she is.
Yes.
Yeah. So, what foreign languages have you learned?
Well, I learned German in high school until I moved to Egypt. Then I learned Arabic a little bit. And then when I moved to Israel, I learned Hebrew.
Okay.
But, I mean, when you sit in Artesia for 20 years,
You
learned.
away. Well, Coxi, did you take up a foreign language ever? Or are you
Nada.
Nada. Well, I tell people I'm bilingual. I speak English and Southern English.
Oh,
Because I lived in Alabama and Mississippi for a while, so I can interpret Southern English. So there you go. That's my fancy language.
I feel for these foreign language teachers because the same thing, like there's different dialects in different parts of the country, just like we have, you know. And so, which way do you teach it?
English or
Like the different, like a Spanish or German or French or whatever you're the teacher of, which
right.
dialect
And it's
do you
the same
go
thing with Spanish, because there's Spain Spanish,
Right.
And then there's Mexican Spanish, and then there's what they speak here,
Spanglish.
Spanglish.
which could be totally different from northern New Mexico or
Right.
California or Florida or stuff like that. It is kind of interesting because we have a lady on our staff, Spanish-speaking person, and she's always correcting the other Spanish speakers that we work with. Well, they're not saying that right. And I said, well, everybody seems to understand what they're saying, so I don't, you know. But anyway, it's Chamber Chat time, and we have Coxi and Jessica and Hayley are all here. And where do you want to talk first? Where do you want to go first? Do we want to do balloons and tunes, or do we want to talk about the your lunch and learn today?
Yeah, I was going to say we can go off of what you were talking about earlier with the
we have
social studies standards.
Paul Gessing's going to be on our show here in about 40 minutes, and he's with the Rio Grande Foundation, which has been studying the social studies standards, and so he has an opinion or two on that. The schools here have been trying to get the public education department to hold off on approving all of this right now, kind of delay it for a bit so that people can have more input on it.
Slow down
just a little bit, but that's not being followed. And so the public is being encouraged to learn more about it and do some comments. You're having a lunch and learn today for people to come out and learn more about all of this. So you want to kind of fill us in on all of that?
Sure.
Okay.
So Danny Parker, who probably pretty much everybody knows, but he's an assistant superintendent with Artesia Public Schools, has put together a great presentation that sort of breaks down the proposed social studies standards in an easy to process and understand fashion, because it is
29 pages.
129 pages, which is about 100 pages more than it was, than it is currently. So, Mr. Parker's done a great job of breaking that down, and also will provide information about how to submit comments. So the comment period for the public is open until 5 o'clock on Friday, November 12th.
Okay, so
And
next Friday.
Next Friday, yeah. People are I hope, feel very encouraged to comment. All comments matter. We have heard from the Secretary of Education that specific comments are better for them than just we don't like it or we do like it or whatever. And so I think you'll get a lot of really good information out of the presentation today. And then we can also supply additional information. Listen to Paul Gessing on the radio today. He's in the 9 o'clock hour, I think, right? Yeah. And he's studied the issue a lot. His organization, the Rio Grande Foundation, spends a lot of time on education issues in New Mexico. So he's well-versed in the subject matter. And we'll have a lot of input. Excuse me. So come today. I think we open the doors at 11:45.
11:45.
And it's $10. We have a taco bar, so you get some food if you don't get anything else out of it.
A taco bar.
A taco bar.
For Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday.
Voting day.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is voting day.
So, and Mr. Parker and I believe Mr. Knoll will be there as well to talk a little bit too about the mill levy, which you can vote on today if you haven't yet, and sort of what they do with that money and what some of their future plans are, including the CTE complex.
Well, it's something too that is a little different in New Mexico, and I have to explain this to my friends in Texas. That, New Mexico is different. We're top down. The Queen tells us how to live our lives, and then we have to go about. Whereas in Texas, you're the free state of Texas, and you actually have some autonomy in doing that. And in New Mexico, the public education department sets these policies. And it's not something that the local school boards, whether it's here or Albuquerque or wherever, can necessarily not do if the state school board says this is the curriculum that you're going to be teaching in your schools. Is that a correct understanding of how it is in New Mexico?
Yes, and the state public education department has not always existed either. I think that was a Richardson creation.
They used to have a state school board.
They did have a state school
board, which was elected.
Functioned differently and was elected. So you should think about that concept as you consider candidates for governor in next year's election, because that will be a topic.
And the state legislature as well.
Well, and the state legislature, that's right.
Yeah.
But I have heard some candidates for governor talk about the public education department and whether it's even necessary or not, or how it could be reformed to serve a different need.
Yeah, it's been an interesting process because it was a constitutional amendment during the Richardson administration that was put forth and the voters approved. So I guess we did this to ourselves, but it really wasn't as aware to people the ramifications of what was done until COVID-19 hit, the mass mandates, the shutdowns of the schools, parents actually watching what their kids are being taught online, those parents that actually cared and paid attention. And so now you've got a lot of people that are concerned about some of these issues that are coming down, and they're finding out that school boards have limited authority when it comes to some of these matters. So that's why this comment period is important, to try to explain to these people your opposition to this particular thing, if you're opposed to it, or
For it.
if you're for it. So it's important to get as much information available as you can so you can comment on this.
One thing I learned at the PAC meeting, parent advisory meeting with the administrators, is the state owns the curriculum, but the school board, the local school board, owns the No, I'm sorry. The state owns the standards.
Mm-hmm.
The local school board owns the curriculum.
Okay.
And so you can take that in different directions. If someone was like, well, then we can just leave it. Our local teachers are going to teach it the way they want to teach it, and maybe they won't implement it or whatever. However, the state still owns the standards. So they were like, if we can influence the standards, then that's where we can, help out the curriculum. Because what if you do hire a new teacher who doesn't believe the same that is a little more liberal or a little more conservative or however that works out, and they are like, nope, these are the standards, this is what I'm teaching.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's something to definitely vote on or give your 2 cents, please, because whether you like it or not, because I'll be influenced at this level, hopefully.
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
hopefully.
No,
hopefully they're reading it.
Well, hopefully they're reading the comments too, and they're
Yeah.
not already. And I'm talking about the state level. They're not already predisposed as to what it is that they're gonna do. But that's the concern that folks have outside of, especially in this part of the state. So today would be a good day to come out to get some tacos. This is at the Country Club, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So come out to the Country Club, have some tacos, listen to the presentations, and then take that information and act upon it if that's what you want to do.
And
So-
one thing that
Sure.
I will 2 cents real quick,
Yeah.
that helped me to kind of break it down is, yes, 129 pages sounds super daunting. He said there are 7 blank pages. So that breaks it down to 122. However,
But who's counting? Right?
what I did is when they told us that this will be supposed to be implemented in the year 23-24
Okay.
into the school. So I kind of fast forwarded where my kids are going to be at that moment, at that time in the school. So poor Coxi's got a kindergartner here. She's going to have to look through the standards. But like for me, it helped it to understand, okay, my kiddo's going to be 6th grade and then my older one will be a senior. So look 6th through 12th grade standards, and not necessarily don't worry about the rest, but like if that's what helps you to be able to read it and try to influence, okay, this is what I do like, this is what I don't like, in those particular grade levels, if that helps people to not be so like, oh man, that's a lot to look over.
Well, and I know it's a big ask, but I would, these 2 ladies have children in the system. I no longer do. So in some ways, it's not really my problem anymore, right? But it kind of is, because, and this is why I want the whole community to think about it. These are the future.
Yeah.
So these are the people who will be working for you, working with you, who will be staying in this state, leaving the state. What does our education do to shape these young people into the next generation who will be making decisions for you and your state, your city, your country, whatever? And so
It's a good point.
there's a way to look at it as a concerned parent, like Jessica said, but in a broader picture, I think it's very important to look at it. When you're talking about science and math and all, of course, they're doing some funny things with that too, but science and math, you'd like to believe, is a little bit more straightforward. Math is math. Numbers are numbers, you would think.
Yeah.
And so you can get a little fancy with that too, but social studies standards are so different because when you look through the standards, you see it's not just about learning history or making sure that certain parts of our history are included, which, I think some people will tell you the reason we need this is because children aren't learning about slavery, for example, which is just not really true. I mean,
That's not true.
yeah.
That's all they hear about.
So it's not really just about what parts of history you're learning about. It's about how you're learning it, and then the social behaviors around that history, which is to me, is where it becomes a little disturbing as a social studies standard.
That's right. That's right. No, you're exactly right. Then the next thing you know, Winston Churchill was a horrible guy. Even though Winston Churchill led England at the peak of World War II and led the country through World War II, and they survived, to this day. But he was a horrible person because of this he said or that he said. And, we take down Thomas Jefferson statues and we get rid of we rename schools after, Washington, Jefferson, and our founding fathers because of the other issues instead of the reality of what they created that brought us to this point we are today. So go to the Lunch and Learn if you can. You got to eat tacos anyway because it's Tuesday, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So you got to eat anyway. So and I had it up here. You're going to open up the doors at 11:45. Mm-hmm. And then the program will begin at 12:15. It's at the Country Club. It's $10, which actually is probably a discount over what you would normally pay for a lunch
These days.
these days.
Yeah.
So that's a heck of a deal. And then you'll find out more about what's proposed in the social study standards, how to weigh in, and all that information that would be important. So
Yes, sir.
Don't
Yeah,
need to
all
don't
very
need to
important.
RSVP.
Don't
There's
need to
one of them
RSVP.
French things.
RSVP is a
Yes,
French thing.
That's a French thing.
Really?
Yes.
Yes, he says.
No, you didn't know?
I didn't know.
What's it stand for?
Hey, Siri.
Rawalata.
What does RSVP stand for? Let's see.
As an abbreviation, it means Répondez s'il vous plaît. Please reply used at the end of invitations to request a response. Do you want to
Oh.
hear the remaining one?
Répondez, s'il vous plaît.
I'm going to
Yes.
just start spelling that out on my invitations.
love
That is
that.
way better than RSVP.
That is so cool. Oh,
quiet.
Siri, we're done with you.
Yeah.
We got it. All
Stop
right.
interrupting, Siri.
Okay, we're going to take a break. We've got news update, the Eddy County Sports Report, and the Cowboys Report. But we'll be back with some more hot air right after this.
Hot air.
Now,